There's a specific kind of pain that comes from watching someone you love choose their comfort over your dignity. I learned that lesson on a Tuesday night in front of 200 people who believed kindness was optional and cruelty was entertaining. What they didn't know was that the woman they humiliated wasn't who they thought she was, and by morning, their entire world would be different. My hands were shaking when I walked into that ballroom. Not because I was nervous about the event itself, but because something in my gut told me I was walking into a test I hadn't studied for. The chandeliers threw fractured light across marble floors. Women in designer gowns moved like they owned the air they breathed. Men in tailored suits spoke in the language of mergers and acquisitions. And I stood there in a dress I'd bought on sale, holding on to my boyfriend's arm like it was a life raft. Brandon squeezed my hand once and said, "You'll be fine. Just smile." But his voice carried something I'd never heard before. Doubt. Like he wasn't sure I belonged there either. That should have been my first warning. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. My name is Sarah, and for the past year, I'd been living a life that felt like mine for the first time. I grew up as Sarah Mitchell, daughter of Robert Mitchell, the man who built Mitchell Technologies from a garage startup into a Fortune 500 company. By the time I was 16, I couldn't tell who liked me and who liked my last name. Every friendship felt transactional. Every relationship came with an asterisk, so when I turned 24, I made a decision that horrified my parents. I took my mother's maiden name, Chen. I moved out of the family estate into a small apartment in Brooklyn. I got a job at a design firm where nobody knew who my father was, and for the first time in my life, people looked at me before they looked at my bank account. That's where I met Brandon. He was a junior analyst at an investment firm. Charming, attentive, the kind of man who remembered small details. On our third date, he asked about my family, and I told him the truth, but not the whole truth. I said my parents were comfortable and we were close, but I valued my independence. He seemed to respect that. 6 months later, he told me he loved me. 3 months after that, he invited me to meet his mother at her annual charity gala. The Drake Hotel ballroom was exactly what I expected. Excess, wrapped in elegance. Ice sculptures that would melt before midnight. Champagne that cost more than my monthly rent. Brandon's mother, Patricia Montgomery, stood near the entrance in a gown that probably required its own insurance policy. She had the kind of beauty that came from excellent surgeons and brutal discipline. When Brandon introduced us, her smile never reached her eyes. She looked at me the way you'd examine a stain on expensive fabric. Disappointed. Fixable. Temporary. "Sarah Chen," she repeated, like she was testing the weight of it. "And what do your parents do?" It was a trap disguised as small talk. I'd heard that question 1,000 times before. My father works in technology. My mother is involved in philanthropy. All technically true. Patricia's smile tightened. "How lovely. And you work in graphic design," Brandon mentioned.